Hey everybody, and welcome to the Green Witch Homestead. So this week has been a little crazy, a little hectic, a little busy. We are getting into the start of fair season here. We don't do much for the fair personally, but it does mean that there's a lot going on. We do go to some of the events, but I'm not quite ready to show anything in them. I'm just going to do a walkthrough today and show you some of the updates on the farm and where we're at. So we've started to move the rabbits. We got the big cage over, which unfortunately resulted in this wall getting busted, and that's why she's up in this cage here, because this one's not safe for her. The reason why we're doing that is because we found that this area here, with all this tree cover, it stays pretty much in the shade all day long. It's also in the fenced enclosure for the birds, so it's double protection as far as predators go, and it keeps them out of the direct sun in the summertime so that they're not getting overheated. That's actually one of the things that people have a hard time with rabbits. How do we keep them? Where do we keep them warm? Where do we keep them safe? In truth, with rabbits, it's much more difficult to keep them cool in the summer than it is to keep them warm in the winter. So if you have a place like we have where it stays shady most of the day, that would be the best place to set up your outdoor rabbits. So a quick little update on the garden. Everything is into hot summer months. Weeds are still going crazy in my walkways. I've given up this year. I'm just given up. Has anybody, comment down below if anybody's having trouble getting things this year that you could have easily purchased last year or the year before that. It's kind of crazy, the things that are difficult to find. You wouldn't expect a plastic tarp to be one of those things that's hard to get your hands on, but it is what it is. Anyway, so tomatoes are going strong. We've gotten quite a large chunk of tomatoes off them already. I'm actually going to be doing some salsa today and some canned beans. Hiding over here, my peppers are going strong. They're still small, but they are producing, so we'll see. My hot peppers, they're doing pretty amazing. They're loving it. The garlic bed is still empty and resting. It does have a little bit of weeds come up in it, so I'm not concerned with those. Those are purslane. Sometimes I'll just let them grow, and then we have extra vitamin C for our salads. Carrot bed is just about ready to harvest, so that should be coming up soon. I'm super excited about that. This here, that is some extra tomatoes that we planted from suckers that I pruned off the big plants, and I put them in here just for a second run of tomatoes. Around here it gets really hot, and tomatoes have this habit, once the days are more than 95 degrees, the tomatoes stop setting fruit. So what I do is I'll have my big established plants that get a good chunk of fruit set on them before our days get super hot like that. And then as I prune them, I'll keep in root some of their suckers and plant them. And then those ones are still young and they haven't started setting fruit yet. They get through this heat wave and then they set a bunch of fruit after it's cooled down a smidge. So I get a second flushing of tomatoes. You can't do that everywhere. You have to make sure you have a long enough season. It doesn't normally get super cold, or at least too cold for tomatoes, until about the end of October here, so we're good on that front. These guys are really cool. So these are the Japanese noodle beans. I showed you one before, and this is what they look like now. So they are doing amazing, and I'm actually going to be canning some. The really neat thing about these guys is that when you harvest them, each bean is about the same as 3 or 4 green beans. We've cooked a few with like potatoes or just how you would normally cook green beans, and they are amazing. They have a little slightly different texture. They're not fuzzy on the outside like a green bean, which is really nice, and I love them. So I'm going to can some today, and we're going to see how that turns out. So one of the things that a few of us did this year is we planted a little sunflower patch. We did this in memory of a friend of ours, Mark Avery. He had a YouTube channel called The House on Avery Road, and he was starting his homesteading journey, showing some of his garden and his cooking and his progress of moving from the city to a farm, which was his dream. Unfortunately, we did lose Mark last Christmas, but one of his biggest things, one of his favorite things, was sunflowers. So a few of us who knew him planted a little sunflower patch in memory of him, and I am so excited because mine finally started blooming. They've been holding back for a while and I was getting worried, but I actually cut my first bouquet from them yesterday and they're still covered, and I've got a bunch more that are about to open up of all different color sunflowers. It really just makes me happy coming in the garden and having a spot where I can sit and remember Mark. So getting ready to make salsa and some fermented pickles for the day, and I realized that I am missing 2 key ingredients: vinegar and cilantro. So we are going to make a rare trip to town. Just want to take a moment. Can we just admire this hat? This is from a friend of mine, Eddie from Big Ed's Backyard Farms. They started a little company called West North Trading Company, and they do all kinds of handmade stuff, tumblers, hats. I think he's getting into shirts and things as well, but he does wood crafting and stuff like that. You guys should really check him out. He's pretty cool. And this is a really good quality hat, and it's got a pocket. So I'm going to be canning up some salsa and some of my beans today. And I'm just cutting them up to edible length, and I'm going to can them just like you would regular green beans. Now, the beans are a low acidic food, which means they are going to have to be pressure canned. It's a little hot working here in the house, so I'm not going to actually can those till later in the evening. But they basically get pressure canned at whatever pound per pressure that you need for your elevation. For ours, it's 10 pounds of pressure for 35 minutes. I'm going to be doing a salsa based off of a recipe that I learned from Jessica Sowards. She taught us that if you roast everything, like either on the barbecue or in the oven, it dries it out a little bit and you don't have to cook it down, which cuts on a lot of prep time, and it also makes less produce used for each jar of salsa. Once you have your tray filled up like this with your peppers and your tomatoes, drizzle a little olive oil on it. I use Squisito's Cayenne Infused. Then you would just put it in your oven at about 300 degrees for an hour or so. I'm going to do them on the barbecue. I'm just going to put it on low. So I've got them out here on the barbecue. I'm checking on them periodically. These aren't quite done yet. I want a little more char on them, but they're looking good. So once it's done roasting, you can see it's kind of reduced down. They're not cooked all the way, they're just reduced a little bit, and there's a lot of juice. You put them in your food processor and blend them up until you get this beautiful cantina consistency. Once it's at this stage, you're going to add some salt, some lemon juice, some vinegar to taste. Put it in some jars, and then I water bath can it for 35 minutes, and it's good to go. So Heath was able to get out and get the weed whacker fixed, which is a huge blessing because now we were able to get the rows in the beds taken care of a little bit. It's nice to have something so that it looks a little more clean and it's not walking through a jungle. It's much nicer looking. I can tell the difference between what's garden bed and what's not. Look at those giant tomatoes over there. It has tidied up the garden quite a bit, which I appreciate very much. We are going to still go the route with the tarp. And now I keep saying tarp, but what I'm referring to is old billboards. They're a thick plastic type material, or a vinyl, I think is what they are. And you can usually purchase them for really inexpensive for the size because they're an old billboard. It's printed on one side and they have no use for it anymore. What we do with them is we're going to take it, we're going to cut the pieces for the rows, stake it down, and then cover it in a real heavy mulch. Possibly gravel, haven't really decided. That way we don't have to deal with these ridiculous Missouri weeds coming up in between all the garden rows. Well, the temperature and the sun are going down, which means I'm gonna head in the house and finish up all the baking. It's been a pretty productive day. We got a trip to town for some provisions that we needed. We got the salsa going, we've got the beans going. I'm gonna start some fermented pickles tomorrow. Garden's all tidied up, and it's basically just what we've been doing for the last couple weeks here on the homestead. It's definitely nice to know that we've entered that time of year where everything is mostly on autopilot and we're just here keeping maintenance, tidying up, following through, and making sure everything survives. Today was a really productive day. We got a lot of food put away. I've got different types of salsa, some green beans that are finishing up in the canner as I speak. And we even had some great memories. It's great to see how far we've come, despite how far we still have to go. Thanks for watching, guys, and get your hands dirty.